Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Lapeer Community Schools Board of Education, my name is Matt Wandry. I'm the superintendent for Lapeer Schools. It's my honor to welcome you to the 2014-15 grand opening of our brand new athletic complex. I'd first like to begin this afternoon's presentation by introducing our co-band directors, Mr. Dan Hunt and Mrs. Lanice Fenner, and our brand new 170-piece Lapeer High School marching band to lead us in the playing of our nation's national anthem. Gentlemen, please remove your caps. Thank you, band. I'm sure you share my pride in Lapeer and our community by coming together today at this historic event. But it would not have been possible without the vision of a particular group of people who helped lead this mission in providing a better facility for our student athletes to compete in. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the Lapeer Community Schools Board of Education. Joining me today, President Mr. Mike Keller, Vice President Mr. Gary Oyster, Secretary Mrs. Peggy Bush, and trustees Mrs. Denise Becker, Mrs. Wendy Byard, Mr. Mike Nolan, and Mr. Jonathan Nugent. Thank you, Board of Education. I would also like to recognize the new co-principals and leaders of our new One Lapeer High School, Mr. Doug Lindsay and Mr. Tim Zeman. Many of you know Mr. Tim Zeman was the principal last year and several years prior to that of West High School, and Mr. Lindsay last year the principal of East High School. Without the efforts of those two gentlemen, and also without recognizing Mrs. Fenner and Mr. Hunt, directing the East and West bands respectively, without the work of people like that, of bringing our high school students together, I don't think we'd be here standing in a successful ceremony opening this new complex. So thank you to those hard-working employees. The work of generating a fundraising campaign in total of $3.2 million, I can tell you, and I'm certain that you understand, is a major lift. A gigantic project that without the help of the community organizations that I'm about to mention would not be possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today because of the organizations that I'm about to mention. The Lapeer Optimist Club, the City of Lapeer Tifa Board, Jim Reel's Friendly Automotive Group, Lapeer County Bank and Trust, the Lapeer County Community Foundation and their Youth Advisory Committee, And last but not least, an individual donor, Mr. Pat Cronin. As we embarked upon this process and tried to establish a vision for what a comprehensive and competitive athletic complex might look like, we had to take a long, hard look at what was happening financially, not only in our district and with public education in Michigan, but also in the surrounding community. And one doesn't have to be a genius to recognize that times are difficult. And going to our community asked to increase taxes through that of a bond or raising the mill level was not an appropriate answer to the woes facing our community school district. And quite frankly, we don't have the money in our general fund to take away from providing for the academic needs of our students to build a facility of this magnitude. But it doesn't mean that our kids don't deserve it. Because they do. And the financial contributions of the groups that I just mentioned, in addition to their shared vision that what you're about to enter is what Lapeer deserves, is why we are here. So thank you, thank you, thank you to those groups who stepped out and were the very first. When this was just a dirt patch and a football field, they saw the vision, and we thank you. At this time, we'd also like to recognize the number of contractors that worked tireless hours, overtime into the dark of night, through the fantastic monsoon season of August, on the weekends, because they knew our deadline of August 28th was quickly approaching. Those contractors are Sky Electric, Agriscapes, Johnson & Sons Excavating, D&B Cement, Aztec Asphalt, Recreation Brands Group, American Fence and Supply Company, and Perez Construction. Thank you for your partnership. And one final employee to thank, our Director of Operations, Mr. Mark Meisner, without whom I guarantee we would not be standing here today. Mr. Meisner, wherever you're at, we owe you a significant debt of gratitude. Thank you. When this used to be Lapeer West High School, and this was home to the Panthers, many of you recall the name of the field was Fitzpatrick Field. And one of the things that we had to consider as we redesigned this complex was sometimes new is great and the innovative is important, but sometimes it's also very important to remember your history and where you came from as a community. So the Board of Education and I had many long conversations about what to name the field. And when it really came down to it, there's no way we could have changed it from Fitzpatrick Field. Jack Fitzpatrick, former assistant principal and athletic director of Lapeer High School, had a vision of an athletic complex, we believe, of this magnitude. And all we've simply done is help to deliver on that vision so many years ago. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Denny Fitzpatrick and Molly Weston to please join me at the podium. And thank them for being here in representation of Mr. Jack Fitzpatrick. And on behalf of Lapeer Community Schools Board of Education and the community at large, although this is now a combined Lapeer High School and no longer home to the West Panthers, it is my honor to rededicate this field as the Fitzpatrick Field in honor of Jack. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce three speakers, and those three folks represent some of the contributing organizations that gave money so generously. I'd first like to introduce the president of the Lapeer Optimist Club, Mr. Larry Hardenberg.
Thank you, Matt. Well, Matt first came to us with this idea. We kind of sat there for a little bit and did a little thinking. It was a big undertaking, and we talked about more money, but I think we came up with what he needed to start this complex get going. And we're happy that you did this, Matt. It's a big undertaking. The Lapeer Optimist Club is very happy to be part of this. As you can see the tennis courts out here, Matt said that they had some matches going on today, and the people were very happy to be here. I think this coming together for the community is a very, very good thing to happen. So the Lapeer Optimist Club is happy to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Representing the City of Lapeer TIFA Board and former Lapeer Community Schools Board of Education member, Mr. Art Seating.
Thank you, Matt. A lot of people don't know what the Tax Increment Finance Authority is. I'm not going to bore you with talking about it. Other than our task and our mission is to see that tax revenues within this particular district of the City of Lapeer are spent wisely and go for good economic reasons. I think all of the authority members, in fact I know all of the authority members, feel that there's nothing more important to a city than a good school. And certainly one of the ways of having a good school, or way a lot of people look at it, is the athletics. So the TIFA was glad to be able to contribute a rather substantial sum of money over the next 2 years for the infrastructure improvements that you see started right here. So we're happy to be part of this project. We're happy to be able to fund it. And last of all, go Lightning, beat Rochester.
Thank you, Art. Man, he took my closing line. That's why you always review the speeches of the guest speakers. And finally, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Ashley White on behalf of both the Lapeer County Community Foundation and the Youth Advisory Committee. Ashley.
Hi. On behalf of the Lapeer County Community Foundation Board of Trustees and our youth grant makers, the better known as YAC, we want to thank Matt Wandry and the Board of Education for making this vision become a reality, and the Lapeer County Community Foundation is very proud to support this project. It'll be good for Lapeer Community Schools, City of Lapeer, and Lapeer County. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Well, and now the moment we've all been waiting for, the official ribbon cutting ceremony. I'd like to invite the Board of Education members, Mr. Lindsay, Mr. Zeman, and I'm going to re-ask Mrs. White, Mr. Cronin, Mr. Seating, and Mr. Hardenberg to please join me.
Everybody look up.
I thought you found this family. No, it's not good. I need countdown.
Give me a countdown.
10, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So just when you think East and West kids could never come together for one school, I think we have evidence today that that's not the case. We hope, in closing folks, we hope that what you're about to see this evening in this complex becomes a centerpiece for our community to come together for years to come, where we celebrate and embrace and support our young people, whether it's on the cheer team, track and field, in the band, on the tennis courts, football team, and a variety of other activities that are sure to take place, bringing our community together for many, many years. What we'd like to ask you to do now is join us in the singing of our new Lapeer High School fight song, the words of which are on the back of the placards that you were passed out when you first came here. And yes, everybody has to sing, even you football players up here. Future Lapeer High Lightning football stars right here to my right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an original composition This is the only tune of its kind in the state of Michigan and in the world. The song and words of which we own. No one else in the world will have this fight song, and our Lapeer Community Schools Board of Education will proudly lead you in the singing of the new Lapeer High School fight song, Go Lightning. Go Lightning. Thank you everyone for coming out this evening.